talks about Bermuda Triangle. The western part of the North Atlantic Ocean has a terrifying mystery underneath. Due to the imaginary geometrical shape of the area and its geographical location, it is called the Bermuda Triangle. As you might know, over 50 ships sailing through and 20 airplanes flying above it are reported to have mysteriously vanished while passing this region, which is the area captured between Miami, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. Human lives have been taken, and there was no logical answer to their disappearance. It is expected for us humans to make myths when our minds cannot explain the reason. So let's hear some of the myths and the facts about this deadly and yet exciting part of the world. Is this part really mystical? Have you heard about the USS Cyclops? It used to be the giant American Navy ship that was built several years before World War I. Having 309 crew members on it, Cyclops created a tragedy when it disappeared without any trace. Well, the last message received from it was, "The weather is excellent." There weren't any received requests for help or backups at all. But it never got to Baltimore. It is said to be a target for the enemies since America was at war and the ship was military property. But no wreckage was ever found that belonged to the Cyclops. This military ship wasn't the only victim of the brutal Bermuda Triangle. A ship carrying goods from New York City to Genoa, Italy, the Mary Celeste, was found adrift about 640 kilometers east of Azores. De Gratia, a British ship, discovered Mary Celestis while much of the ship remained intact, but there was no sign of its crew, 10 strong men who left their belongings behind. Stories like this can scare you to your very bone, but are they truly as well? Is this a side of the story that they didn't tell you? Let's find out the truth. So do not miss this video and stay with us until the end, where we tell you the unbelievable truth. Hey everyone, welcome to the Think Lab. If you're now here, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any of our videos. 1. Before anything else, you should know that there is no official map that shows the boundaries of this triangular area. In fact, the US Navy and its Board of Geographical Names do not even recognize this part as the Bermuda Triangle. But how did we get to know this area and find out so many things about it? When did it start? We all know that every mystery and myth can be tracked back to writers. They can create wild stories from simple and explainable incidences. Just like the lore of vampires, the Bermuda Triangle was built by the hands of capable writers who knew how to impress the minds where there is no explanation. 2. Firstly, George Sand wrote an article in Fate magazine in 1952, and people started to pay attention and talk about the Devil's Triangle. This magazine is mostly about paranormal accidents, and Sand wrote about incidents like Flight 19, the training flight of 5 Avenger bomber planes. They were all mentioned as missing, and since 1945, nobody found out what happened to them. The article was named sea mystery at our back door and caught a lot of attention since it was one of the first. 3. The first one to define the boundary of Bermuda Triangle as we know it today was the author Vincent Gaddis. He wrote an article and mentioned that Flight 19 and other cases of disappearances fall into a pattern of strange events. 1 year later, in 1965, he managed to expand his article into a complete book named Invisible Horizons. 4. The bestseller, The Bermuda Triangle by author Charles Berlitz, was published in 1974. This was the major storm that took the whole world. Over 20 million copies of the book were sold all over the world. The writer, who was a believer himself, tried to connect to the lost city of Atlantis to the incidents of the Bermuda Triangle and relayed all of these to extraterrestrials. He first heard about this area from his travel agent, who said, "You want to avoid flying over the triangle area." Anyways, this book inspired so many movies and stories and caused the tale of the triangle to promote. 5. If you know physics, you know that compasses always point to the magnetic north and not the true north, which is the geographic North Pole. It is said that the Bermuda Triangle is a place with compass variations. So a compass would point to the true north, which is a good reason for the captains to fail to make the necessary adjustments. So the ship would end up miles away from the destination. But even in early days, captains used to be well trained, meaning they could adjust the compass variation. So this theory is not really authentic. 6. A few theories suggest some kind of electronic fog appearing from nowhere to engulf ships and planes and finally making them vanish. 7. And supernatural explanations such as aliens needing human beings to experiment on them, or the existence of a portal through which you can travel into another time or space, or even the mystical Atlantic City that lays under the ocean is claimed to be destroying ships and planes with its powerful energy, and other bizarre theories. Let's talk about the real facts. It is obvious that an author would write anything in their book in order to sell more copies and get rich. 8. Hurricanes and tropical cyclones are pretty common in this area. In the reports, we read that writers said all the incidents happen in typical and fine weather, which is totally false. 9. These kinds of incidents happen all the time all over the world, and research has shown that this area's number of unfortunate accidents is not significantly more compared to other parts of the world. They were especially considering the fact that the Bermuda Triangle is one of the most heavily traveled channels of the world. 10. Most writers reported false incidents in their books. Some of them actually happened far away from the Bermuda Triangle and had nothing to do with it. They only wanted to create sensational stories and didn't mind if they were wrong. 11. Actually, some reported cases never happened. For instance, in 1937, a plane crash was reported off Daytona Beach. Well, the local newspaper report claimed nothing of that sort has happened. 12. Charles Berlitz's account has numerous inaccurate reports, such as a ship disappearing 3 days after it left a port in the Atlantic. The fact was, the ship actually left the port of the same name from the Pacific Ocean, over 3,000 miles away. 13. Researchers say that since the Bermuda Triangle is close to the equator and near a wealthy part of the world, America, there is a lot of traffic of planes and ships importing and exporting products, as well as transporting people. Therefore, there is nothing out of the ordinary happening when we say a lot of harmful incidences happened here. 14. The leader of Flight 19 arrived with a hangover, flew off without a watch, and had a history of getting lost before. He was hopelessly lost and did not take advice from his junior pilot. So the planes ran out of fuel and ditched into the dark ocean. This was stated by another researcher, Carl Krusnick, who's a well-known Australian author as well as a science communicator. Vincent Gaddis claimed in his book that Flight 19 vanished in ideal flight conditions, while this researcher clarified that the weather was far from fine. 15. A 2013 study conducted for Worldwide Fund for Nature reported the 10 most accident-prone areas in the ocean for shipping. And guess what? The most dangerous waters were the South China Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, and the North Sea. So it did not include the Bermuda Triangle. 16. The seafloors surrounding Bermuda Island are known to be the graveyard of over 300 ships and are popular scuba diving sites. But why? You should know that around 200 square miles of this water area are full of dangerous underwater reefs. So, in the early days, with the simple navigation system captains used, these reefs used to be severely hazardous since they were hidden below the water surface. They tore apart the hulls of numerous ships, causing them to sink. These facts indicate that the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle is manufactured by the minds of writers who needed exotic stories to earn a living. But the brightest minds once said the earth is flat. Maybe one day we find aliens taking people off the skies and experimenting on them, or even traveling in time using the Bermuda Triangle. They seem strange, but might as well be true. Who knows for sure? If you like today's video, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And let us know down in the comments if there's any subjects you want us to cover in other future videos. See you in the next video.